ओम सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो Ramakrishna te Namaha. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master, as the spiritual teacher, second part, and we are taken up the third chapter. And the name of the third chapter is Pilgrimage of the Master as the Guru and his company with the holy men. So holy men came to him and then he went on a pilgrimage to know the condition of the whole country, especially the religious condition, and that is available in the places of pilgrimage. So we are read up to para 5 here. We take up para 6 now. Passing through various states, high and low, in his life and having various experiences, the Master had an extraordinary power of spiritual teaching manifested in him. That means he should know what people want. And so he can explain. The Master said, a piece has to move through all the squares before it reaches home. That is in the play. When one experiences all the states from that of sweepers to that of emperors and is really convinced of their worthlessness, one can be in the state of a real Paramahansa. अच्छा ठाकुर बोले थे तुच्छ बोले ठीक ठीक धारणा बोले. Okay. This is true so far as the realization of the ultimate knowledge by particular aspirant himself is concerned to become the Paramahansa. But as regards what one should be like if one were to become a real teacher of humanity, he used to say, one can commit suicide with a nail parer, but one requires a shield and a sword in order to kill another, to conquer an enemy. That means, if one is to become a true spiritual teacher, one has to pass through all kinds of experiences and become endowed with more power than the generality of people. Or if one has to become a true spiritual teacher, so he requires a shield and a sword. That means to defend his teachings and to make people believe his teachings. That is the sword. And defend his teaching against attacks. That is the shield. The master said to us again and again, it is in the degree of powers only that an incarnation of God on the one hand and a perfected man and jiva on the other differ. Now what is this power? Now this power is twofold because three people are mentioned here. Avataras, perfected men and jivas. So in compare jivas and perfected man, the power is in realizing one's real nature. Power in getting oneself illumined. And when come to a man of realization and incarnation, then the difference of power is in ability to influence another. That is the power difference. That is the power difference. And when we see only degree of power only, why this is mentioned, whether it is a jiva or a siddha or a avatar, everybody is nothing but a manifestation of Brahman. Each person is a manifestation of Brahman. But the power is different. Power to illumine oneself and to realize that one is the real nature is Brahman. And in second case, after realization, the power to feel everybody that he is the real nature of Brahman. So that is the common and the difference. Do you not see that this is not by Thakur, eh? Thakur's quotation is completed. Saradanji is telling us, do you not see then that in the practical world of politics, geniuses like Bismarck and Gladstone, now this generation we do not know Bismarck and Gladstone. In Saradanji's time, Bismarck was a powerful statesman of Germany and Gladstone was a powerful statesman of England. So these were the two names. Known to people in those days, do you not see that in the practical world of politics, geniuses, and they were genius, Bismarck and Gladstone, have to keep an eye on the past and present history and events of their countries and develop foresight far more powerful than ordinary people. And it is because they do so that they can understand what prevailing ideas and movements would develop in a particular way. This is the connection they want to see. And have a painful influence and effect on the generality of the people of their country 50 years or more hence. Only painful? Okay. That's Viprit. Okay. So they know what will be destructive after 50 years. So they set free counter forces which prevent those ideas from becoming powerful in course of time and bringing misery to their countries. That is what the genius does. So what the present Western education or old decline of religion, what are the forces growing in that and how to counteract that, that incarnation has to see. from the practical point of view. Here telling that God is all-knower will not do. He is born as a man. Why? To help humanity. So on the human level, he must understand what are the evil forces and then how they can be counteracted. And that he has to judge beforehand. That means the forces which are available today, after 40, 50 years, what they will do. So they have to be stopped now itself. Incarnations, it must be understood that the case is the same in the spiritual world also. Incarnations, the true teachers have to set afoot before they pass away new movements after a careful study and correct grasp and understanding of the spiritual ideas introduced in past ages by the ancient seers. What forms those ideas are assumed in the course of that long period? How much good or evil? Here, good or evil both are mentioned. How much good or evil they have done and are doing to the people in general in their not all beneficent present forms. Avatar has to know these things. We say that God is all-knowing, that will not do. He is born as man to help humanity. So, what are the spiritual forces going on? And at present, what good or bad they are doing? And in future, what they will do? In future, how they will hamper the growth of the society. And so, the counter forces have to do. That is what incarnation does. And for that sake, Thakur went on pilgrimage to get a first-hand knowledge of the spiritual condition of India that is available in the place of pilgrimage. So, again I read the sentence. A lamba sentence. Incarnation, the true teachers have to set afoot before they pass away new movements after a careful study and correct grasp and understanding of the spiritual ideas introduced in past ages by the ancient seers. What forms those ideas are assumed in the course of that long period? How much good or evil they have done and are doing to the people in general in their not all beneficent present forms. Not all beneficent. What causes have contributed to their degradation? What forms the new spiritual ideas prevalent in the country at the present time, when gradually vitiated, you will assume. Beautiful analysis. Some will assume some 2 centuries hence. About Gladstone and Bismarck is it 50 years. Then the spiritual world says 200 years. And whether or not they will grow more harmful to the people. For if they cannot rightly grasp these things, how can they understand the present condition of people? And if they cannot rightly diagnose the disease, how can they prescribe the medicine? Therefore, besides acquiring the power of prescribing that medicine by practicing intense austerities and the like, spiritual teachers have to pass through a great variety of conditions in the world and gain more experience than others. Do you not see with how many kinds of states the master had to be acquainted? Born in a poor village, cottage, he suffered intense poverty during his childhood, was appointed a priest in the outside description of the avatar, and was appointed a priest in the Kali temple. passed through the mean condition of serving another during his youth, and absorbed in a search for God, met with harsh treatment from his relatives and became an object of pity and contempt for the worldly people, who regarded him as mad during the period of his sadhana. Again, he experienced the respect worthy of a king when Mathur Babu entertained the greatest possible reverence for him and showed the intensest devotion to him. And he had the supreme splendor worthy of the gods when the aspirants of various denominations poured out their hearts' love and devotion at his lotus feet, knowing him to be an incarnation of God. Three things: general people, condemnation; Mathur Babu, appreciation; spiritual aspirants, understanding and appreciation. Thus, experiencing all these and numerous other states and numerous others, three as described maybe, he had to stand the test of remaining perfectly unperturbed under all those circumstances. Just as, on the one hand, his undivided divine love engaged him intensely in practicing extraordinary austerities and opened his supersensuous, subtle yogic vision, so on the other, his acquaintance with all those worldly states enabled him rightly to grasp and understand the mental attitudes of people under all circumstances in the gross external world. So people are looking at him, he understands. Gave him his skill in dealing with them. In a later chapter, Saradananda Swamiji said, Brahmos learned such and such thing from Master. Did Master learn something from Brahmos? Yes, he is an incarnation. No. How to teach the Brahmos? What they lack? How he has to teach with the correct people? All those things he understood only by the contact of the Brahmos. So, now here to the world at large. And made him sympathize with all kinds of misery and happiness. Sympathize with happiness? Sukha Dukkar says, Sahanubhuti Sampanna Kuryat. That means if they are happy, he should know why they are happy. That is sympathy. Sympathy, Sahanubhuti, Sa-anubhuti. You experience as he is experiencing. Sympathize. Shall I give a small example? In the training center, we were sitting in a class. I was sitting on the not back bench, but backside bench. And one brahmachari was sitting in front bench. And he coughed. After the class, I told him, you are having bronchitis. Get tested immediately. He said, you are unnecessarily making a small thing into a big thing. I am already getting treatment from the dispensary. Then I kept quiet. Then they tested for when we get brahmacharya, before that we are medically examined. And that doctor said, how you are carrying bronchitis for such a long time? Fortunately, there was time enough. So he got the proper treatment and got brahmacharya that year. Then he asked me, when the doctor told him, which pati you know? Allopathy or homeopathy or what pati you know? I said, I do not know allopathy or homeopathy. I know sympathy. When you coughed, I remembered my coughing when I was suffering from bronchitis. And your coughing sounded exactly like that. Understood sympathy now? So the avatar has to sympathize with the miseries and happiness of all the people. For it was through all these internal and external states that the Master's power as the teacher was seen to blossom and manifest itself more and more every day. So I seen Guru Bhava is his own. But how, what is people need, what they want, how to teach them, is developing. Evolution is there always. What the Master learned during his pilgrimage. So this is the introduction. Both natures, the divine and the human, were there in him. You must understand, he's born as a man. There is no doubt that similar results are produced in the life of the Master by his pilgrimages. Why pilgrimages? I told you, the religious condition will be not there. It was necessary for the Master, the spiritual teacher of the age you understood now, na? At that time he has to teach people. To be acquainted with the spiritual condition of the generality of the people of the country. This need was no doubt met to a great extent through the pilgrimage he undertook with Mathur. External cause is that Mathur requested him to go with him. Actually, this is what is going on. For the Master's eye of wisdom, which could always penetrate into all the wells of Maya and have a direct vision in the inward world of the one indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss, without a second, the quintessence of all, made him in the everyday life of the external world an expert in grasping the mental attributes of people from a few casual words of theirs. So that penetration is there. A few casual words help me. And in understanding the state of the country and society by the observation of a few events. It must, of course, be understood that we say this with respect to the Master's normal state of consciousness. Normal means ordinary state of consciousness. But when he ascended to higher planes through the power of yoga and with the help of divine vision, saw and understood the individual, social and regional conditions and fully ascertained the means by which their present plight might come to an end. That will not by the outside. It means he finds by his yogic vision. He was beyond the necessity of knowing anything in the manner of ordinary people, who do so by observing things with the gross eye and comparing with other things. That is ordinary people. In this, who is more expert than ordinary people? The detectives. You have seen in Calcutta, Central Detective Training Center. So outside they observe many more things than ordinary people. But that is only outside. Another reason for non-observing in our case and observing in Avtara's case. Same thing for the detective also. We are attached to certain things, basically, and are averse to certain things. Now, as soon as we see a man, place, person, those things only attract us. So many other details escape us. Now, Avatar is not attached to anything. So he can observe much more things. You know about detectives? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle created an imaginary detective, Sherlock Holmes, and wrote books after books. The British English detective system is called the Scotland Yard. And Scotland Yard had to change many rules reading those books. So that is the external penetration. Now, we in general will just prescribe some medicine. But when we see how Thakur is working, then we'll understand. It was then not at all necessary for him to ascertain the truth about things in this manner, from the higher vision. We saw the Master, the God-man, ascertain the truths about all things with the help of both the ordinary outward eye and the extraordinary yogic vision. So every time he sees something, he would verify from this I have seen in my life. Those who are little emotional heightening, they can't do this. But those who are really high, they verify their things always in the physical world. That is their habit. That becomes their analytical habit. And then only they can help people grow. I have seen this daily in my life from my Guruji. Therefore, if you cannot make the reader acquainted with the perfect manifestation in you of both the divine and the human aspects, a partial picture only of the divine character will be imprinted in the reader's mind. As the description of outside only, then everything will appear miraculous. Or inside only, then that will not be practical. That is why we are making an effort to study the life of this God-man in both those aspects. What the Shastras say about the reason why divine persons like the Master go on pilgrimage. Why we go on pilgrimage? To take benefit from the spirituality there. Why avatars visit pilgrimage? To give more spiritual strength to that place. Seen from the scriptural angle of vision, there is another reason that he is going to tell now. There is another reason why the Master went on a pilgrimage. The persons who have realized the goal of life by the attainment of the vision of God say the scriptures to holy place of glad go, say the scriptures to holy place of pilgrimage and enhance their quality of holiness. As they come and reside in those places with eager heart to have special visions of God, they leave behind them either new manifestations of special aspects of God or enhance and illumine the previous manifestation. Which was not there, they will see. The places in Vrindavan were all lost. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there, he discovered here Krishna played, here Radha played, is there, and then temples were created. So when others come there, they experience easily, a little at least, of those aspects of God. The scriptural evidence is with regard to ordinary perfected soul. This is describing about ordinary perfected soul. How much more powerful would be the influence of the incarnations of God like the Master? The Master explained to us on many occasions in his simple language what has been said before about holy places. He said, know for certain, my children, that there is God's manifestation where people have practiced for a long time. Austerity, japa, meditation, steady abstraction of mind, Maharajya Pravesh. Prayer and worship in order to have his vision. Their thoughts of God have become solidified there, so to speak, on account of their devotion. That is why holy thoughts and visions are so easily attained there. Numberless sadhus, devotees, and perfected souls came from age to age to these holy places in order to realize God. Gave up all desires and called on Him with all their heart. So there is a special manifestation of God in these places. Now, temples. Some people do not understand the value of temples. In temples, ordinary man meets God. That is the meeting place between God and man. Because God is manifested there in such a way that ordinary man also feels it. Though in this respect, I will tell you something. The ancient temples and the modern created temples, there is a huge difference. The modern temples may be more beautiful, more clean, more, but the spiritual influence carried by the ancient temples are different, very different. As you enter, you can perceive there is something. He is uniformly present everywhere. Like water which is easily accessible in wells, pools, ponds or lakes, though it can be had in other places also, if one digs for it there. That means everywhere water is there if you dig. But in the rivers and wells it is easily available. Like that. The masters advise to chew the cud after one visits temples and holy places. Another important point. Very important. Again, the master taught us to chew the cud. You understand what is chewing the cud?
Jugali.
Huh? Jugali. That means the cows eat fast and store that inside their stomach. Then in leisure, they bring it out and chew it again. That is chewing the cud. When people are there, this or that, they must eat quickly. But when they're restful, they chew the cud. Cud is that food which is already inside. Again, the master taught us to chew the cud after our visits to these places, endowed with a special manifestation of God. He said, just as cows eat their fill, he has explained there, become free from anxiety, and then resting in one place, chew the cud. So, after one has visited temples and places of pilgrimage, one should sit in a secluded place, think on and merge oneself in those pure thoughts of God that rose in the mind while one was in those places. One should not apply one's mind to sights, tastes, and other worldly objects immediately after visiting them. Those thoughts of God do not, in that case, produce permanent results in the mind. Ordinary people do like that. If they go to a place, then temples, sightseeing places, all together. On one occasion, he is giving direct example. Saradananda Swami has the knack of. He is describing the outside things only to depict the inside. On one occasion, and it has happened in Master's life, on one occasion, some of us accompanied the Master to Kali Ghat. That is the old Kali temple in Calcutta, Shakti Pit also. Ghat is because it is near the Ganges. So that area is called Kali Ghat. Kali is there, Ghat is there. To pay our obeisance to the Mother of the Universe. It is superfluous to say that the special divine manifestation of the Pithasthan, you need not go about that. Shakti Pit, you know the story. Sati was the daughter of Daksha, and Daksha's father was Brahma. And Brahma had 5 mouths or faces. And he made some mistake in the Vedas. So Shiva had to cut off his head, one of the heads. Now that Brahma's son is Daksha. So Daksha took an anger on Shiva. Brahma never took anger. He knew that that was superfluous, it had to go. But Daksha took anger. And he became a devotee of Vishnu. And nothing of Shiva could be heard in his kingdom. But Sati, his daughter, he had several daughters. Sati was the youngest, and he loved her very much. But as she grew, she became a devotee of Shiva. And against his will, she married Shiva. Then when there was some function in Daksha's house, he did not invite her or Shiva. Some yajna, Shiva is officially partaker of yajna food, but he did not invite him. All gods, all rishis had come. Sati came to know. Then she said that I will go. Shiva forbade her many times, don't go, don't go, don't go. She said, no, I must go to my father's house. Okay, go. And having gone there, other sisters, mother received her, but her father did not like her coming. And he went on criticizing Shiva in her presence, abusing him. So she ignited a fire from her body and got herself burnt there in presence of everybody. When Shiva came to know this, Shiva sent his captain. He destroyed the Daksha Yajna. He cut the Daksha's head, fell in that fire. Shiva came and lifted the corpse of Sati on his shoulder. And in that madness, he roamed throughout India. Now, how to make Shiva get rid of this? So Vishnu came with Sudarshan Chakra and went on cutting the limbs of Shakti. And wherever they fell, that became a Shakti Peeth. Understood this? So there are 50 or 51 or 52 Shakti Peethas in India. There, along with the Shakti image, some Bhairava, Shiva's bodyguard stand to protect her. She was found. So here, he has not mentioned the main thing. What fell in Calicut, in Calcutta. Peter's son. And the living manifestation of the universal mother in the mind and body of the master combined to produce an extraordinary joy in the hearts of the devotees. On our way back, one of us had to go to his father-in-law's place in response to a special request and to spend that night there. On the morrow, when he came to the master, he asked him where he had passed the previous night. And learning that he had had to pass the night in the house of the father-in-law, he said, what is this? You saw mother and came back. What a great difference between chewing the cud of the vision and thoughts of her, which you ought to have done, and passing the night like worldly people in your father-in-law's house instead. One should chew the cud. In other words, continue to cherish the thoughts that arise in one's mind in temples and holy places of pilgrimage. How can those divine thoughts stay in the mind otherwise? A devotional mood must be produced in the mind before one visits. What he has started now? What are the conditions when one will benefit by going to? Everybody will not benefit going to the holy places. So one condition is this. After that you have to choose the card. Now another condition. Again, the master said to us on many occasions that one could not derive much benefit from visiting places of pilgrimage and other holy places without devotedly cherishing from beforehand holy thoughts in the mind. You have to feel yourself in one mood, one bhav, and then go there. Now, I visit a Vishnu temple, a Shakti temple, a Shiva temple. Then how can this happen? And in between some tourist places. When he was living, many of us at different times expressed our desire to go on pilgrimage. Oh, ठीक है, no language difference is there. तार वर्तमान काले, no, if he was living, that means was he dead later on? How will you translate Vartaman Kal? When he was present in physical form, even if you don't write the physical form, you have to write when he was present. Because now we do not see him. He is present. So, this word is hurting. When he was living. Many of us at different times expressed our desire to go on pilgrimage. When he said to us affectionately, one who has it here, that is in the heart, has it there. One who has it not here, has it not there either. There was another reasons also. And Thakur is the best place of pilgrimage. In his presence, why you are going anywhere? He said further, there is a footnote here, my Saradananda ji. Comparing with Jesus' essay. Incarnations of God very often teach people in the same way. Once upon a time, His supremely glorious Jesus said to His disciples, to him who hath more of faith and devotion, more shall be given. And from him who hath little, that little shall be taken away. He said further, the devotional moods, when they exist in one's mind, get accentuated through association in places of pilgrimage. But what special benefit will one derive there if one has not got those moods in one's mind? They'll go on seeing the architecture. Often it is said that so and so's son has fled to Kashi or some other holy place. Shortly after he writes home that he somehow secured a job there and has sent some money. Thakur's observation is very nice. Again, many go to live in places of pilgrimage but start shops, business, etc. there. When I went with Mathur to the northwestern parts of India, I found that what was here was there also. The same mango trees, tamarind trees, clusters of bamboos were there as here. I saw all that and said to Ridu, what, oh Ridu, have I then come to see here? Whatever is there is here. The only difference is that external, the power of digestion of the people of these parts seems to be greater than that of the people there. When one sees the ordure in the fields here, footnote says the master expressed this last idea a little differently because he was habit of using slang words will not appear nice. So Saradananda sir, he has changed the word but mentioned it that he has changed. What the master said to a devotee anxious to visit Buddha Gaya when Swami Vivekananda had gone there. Swami Vivekananda went because of his special purpose. The devotee we said before brought the master for the treatment. Devotees we said before brought the master for the treatment of his throat disease to a hired house at first at Shampakur in Calcutta and afterwards to a garden house at Kashipur, a little to the north of that city. Now everything is in the city. Accompanied by two of his co-disciples, Swami Vivekananda went away to Buddha Gaya. What is Buddha Gaya, you know? Gaya is a place of pilgrimage of the Hindus. And at a little distance is where Buddha got his illumination below a banyan tree. So that place is called Buddha Gaya. Without the knowledge of anybody, a few days after the master came to the Kashipur garden. At that time, the study of the extraordinary life of Lord Buddha and conversations about his detachment from the world, his renunciation and austerity were going on night and day amongst us. On the wall of the small room, this is a very funny thing, important thing. On the wall of the small room on the southern side of the ground floor of the garden house, which you always use, which we used, was written the verse from the Lalita Vistar, Buddha's life, indicative of the firm resolve of Buddha. You know that shloka? Ihas, it is given here. Ihasane shishyatu me shariram. Tvag asti mansam pralayam chayatu. Aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlabham naiva sanat kayam atas charishyati. His firm resolve when he finally got the illumination. He sat on a asana and said, Ihasane, on this asana, Shishyatu me shariram, let my body dry up. Tvag asti mansam pralayam chayatu. My skin, my bones and this may get destroyed. Aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlama. His aim is bodhi, the illumination. And it is difficult to obtain in many kalpas. But unless I get that, naiva sanat kaya matachari, my body will not move from this asana. And he got in that night. Now these people are not getting in the same night, but the shloka is there. Understood? I will explain. He has translated, I will sit continuously on the same seat and practice meditation and steady abstraction of mind. That perhaps that nothing is there. Dhyan dharana perhaps. Till truth is realized. Let the body be destroyed in the attempt if it is to be so. Flashing before our eyes day and night, these words always reminded us that we also would have to sacrifice our life for the realization of God, who is of the nature of truth. We also must follow the maxim. Now, understood? They are not getting that night, but again they are having that resolve. So, I'll tell you a story about it from Swamiji's life. After Thakur's Mahasamadhi, Swamiji is talking to Master Mashi. What can be done for God realization? Master Mashi said, anything can be done. He said, shall I do prayopation? Prayopation means fasting unto death or until I get God's vision. Master Mashi said, yes, it can be done for God's sake. Then Swamiji says, but if the pain of hunger does not allow me to continue, Master said, then eat, and again eat like that. You understood? That is the thing here. Thus, having had endless discussions on Buddha's detachment from the world, the Swami suddenly went away to Buddha Gaya. But he did not inform anyone where he would go or when he would return. So we thought he would not perhaps return to the world anymore, and we would not see him again. Word came afterward that he had put on ochre cloth and gone to Buddha Gaya. The minds of all of us were so much attracted toward the Swami that it was very painful for us to be without him even for an hour. Therefore, the minds of many became restless and they felt a constant desire to join him there. Gradually, news of this reached the master's ears also. Knowing that resolve of one of us, one day Swami Brahmananda told the master of it, so and so wants to go, like that. The master heard it and said to him, why are you anxious? Where can Naren go? How long can he be away? You will see, he will come back very soon. Afterwards he said, smiling, although you journey even to all the four corners of the world, you will find nothing of true spirituality anywhere. Whatever is there is also here, on his own body. The word there, it seems, was used by the master in two senses. Firstly, that the manifestation of religion and spirituality did not at that time exist anywhere else in such an appreciable manner as in himself. Yes, that is clear. And secondly, that God existed within everyone, and that if love for and devotion to him within one could not be awakened, there was no benefit derived from traveling to various places outside. Both the meaning. Two or more meanings are thus met within many of the master's words. Why speak of the master alone? It is the same case with all the incarnations of God. So what is common he explains? Appearing in the world from age to age, and human beings in general accept one or two, sometimes more than two, accept one or two of those meanings according to their individual liking or past impressions. The person to whom the master addressed the aforesaid words took him in the former meaning. That is, master, everything is there. And firmly convinced that the manifestation of spirituality was nowhere to be found in the same degree as it was in the master, stayed with him, with his mind free from anxiety. Swami Vivekananda also actually came back to Kashipur in a few days, within 1 week. One who has it here has it there also. This to another devotee. At one time, a little before the passing away of the master, a supremely devout woman devotee, Yoginma, expressed to the master her desire of going to Vrindavan and practicing austerities and other religious exercises for some time. The master, with a movement of his hand, said to her, why should you go? What can you do there? One who has it here has it there, and one who has it not here has it not there either. The woman devotee could not accept those words of the master on account of the attraction of her heart for that place and bade goodbye to him. But she, we were told by her, could not derive much benefit from the pilgrimage on that occasion. Besides, she lost the opportunity of being with the master in his last days. since he passed away shortly after she went away on the pilgrimage. So he's discussing from all sides before starting the discussion of Master Spirit. The thought in the mind of the simple-hearted master as to what he would find in place of pilgrimage. Expectations. Simple mind. Many a time we were told by the master, the embodiment of all spiritual modes, that is, journeys to the holy places were undertaken with special mental attitudes. He used to say, I thought I would find everyone in Kashi merged in Samadhi, in the meditation of Shiva, all the 24 hours, and all in Vrindavan, beside themselves with devotion and divine love in the company of Govinda. But when I was there, I found everything quite the reverse. The extraordinary simple mind of the master used to accept and believe everything like a 5-year-old boy. We have learned to view all persons, now difference, compare. We have learned to view all persons and things with a suspicious eye from our childhood. How can that kind of simple faith arise in our good mind? We look upon him as a foolish, half-witted person when we see him believing anything straight away. It was from the master that we heard for the first time, my children, people become simple-minded and liberal as the result of many austerities and sadhana. Then one becomes simple. Liberal, udar, accepting everything. If one is not simple-minded, one cannot realize God. It is to these men of simple faith that he manifests his real nature. Simple. So intellectual crookedness will not do. Again, lest anyone should think that one must be a simpleton to have sincere faith. Immediately sadhana samija jap. There is a difference between simple and simpleton. Simpleton is a fool. And simple, the mind goes straight. He said, you should become a devotee. But why should you be foolish on that account? Always continually discriminate in your mind between what is real and what is unreal, what is eternal and what is transitory, and then give up what is transitory and fix your mind on the thing eternal. So we take up the case according to this simple thing or that next time. Now, because of today's Shivratri, tomorrow anyway we are not having Leelaprasanga because of Wednesday. And I had told in the morning already, morning class also I will not have tomorrow. But evening class is there from university that will continue tomorrow. Om Sarvadharma Stapakasvam Sarvadharma Swarupakah Acharyanam Acharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Leelaprasanga.